Hey players, love a black woman from infinity to infinity. It may have taken District Attorney Willis 2.5 years to come through with this indictment. But when I tell you she came through in the clutch with the motherload of indictments, she came through in the clutch with the motherload of indictments. Baby, not only did she indict Frumpy to the motherfucking dump, but she also indicted 18 other people in a sweeping racketeering, a RICO Suave indictment for alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in the state of Georgia. Y'all go ahead and grab your tea and have a seat. Let's talk about it. So yesterday, the special grand jury came through in the clutch and returned indictments on Frumpy Dump and a plethora of his megamites, honey. I'm talking human skid Mark Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, and several others. According to the indictment, the defendants allegedly solicited state leaders throughout the country, harassed and misled Georgia election workers, and pushed phony claims that the election was stolen, all in an effort to keep Frumpy Dump in power despite the fact that his ass lost the election. According to the indictment, the scheme involved prominent individuals such as Frumpy Dump's former chief of staff Mark Meadows and also human skid Mark Giuliani, who was the mayor of all mayors of New York, and also attorney John Eastman. The indictment specifically says that members of the conspiracy corruptly solicited Georgia officials, including former Georgia Speaker of the House, to violate their oaths of the Georgia Constitution and the United States Constitution by unlawfully changing the outcome of the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in favor of Frumpy to the motherfucking dump. On December 7th, Frumpy Dump called the former Georgia House Speaker and tried to solicit him to violate his oath by calling a special session of the Georgia General Assembly for the purpose of unlawfully appointing presidential electors from Georgia. On December 22nd, 2020, Mark Meadows, Frumpy Dump's top official, tried to bogart his way into the Cobb County Center to observe the signature match audit being performed by law enforcement. Now that is not open to the public, and the Georgia Deputy Secretary of State prevented Mark Meadows from entering the space where the audit was being conducted. Now, while Mark Meadows was down there, he arranged for Frumpy Dump to have a phone call with the Georgia Secretary of State Chief Investigator, and he called that lady and alleged that he won the election by hundreds of thousands of votes. Mark Meadows continued his communication with that investigator and texted her on December 27th saying that they needed to speed up the process of the Fulton County signature verification. The defendants also allegedly created false electoral college documents and recruited individuals to convene and cast false electoral college votes at the Georgia State Capitol in Fulton County on December 14th. The false documents were intended to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021. The indictment also details the alleged efforts to harass Georgia election worker Ruby Freeman to convince her to report election fraud claims in testimony. Frumpy Dump associate and Kanye West publicist traveled from Chicago to Georgia to speak with Ruby Freeman. Now, Ruby Freeman, being the smart woman that she is, met at a police station, and there is actual body camera footage of the exchange. Miss Cuddy claimed that Ruby Freeman was in danger and lied to her about her intentions.
You are elusive for a party that needs to tidy up. I work with some of the biggest names in the industry. Crisis is my thing. One thing we don't want to do for you is create another person. I'm going to call Harrison Floyd. I'm going to put him on speaker. Who is Harrison Floyd? Harrison Floyd is Harrison Floyd of that group of crisis management, very high level with authoritative powers.
She has also been indicted for her efforts to help Frumpy to the motherfucking dump. The indictment also alleges that members of the group stole data including ballot images, voting equipment software, and personal voter information. They did that in Coffee County. Frumpy Dump's attorney, and who's also been indicted, Sidney Powell, allegedly entered into a written agreement with a forensic data firm to unlawfully breach election equipment in Coffee County, Georgia. Now, of course, the ketchup and the Diet Coke are plentiful over on Devil is a Lie Social, and Frumpy Dump is pissed to the highest level of pistivity. He says on Devil is a Lie Social, so the witch hunt continues. 19 people indicated tonight, including former President of the United States, by an out-of-control and very corrupt district attorney who campaigned and raised money on "I will get Trump." And what about those indictment documents put out today, long before the grand jury even voted, and then quickly withdrawn? Sounds rigged to me. Why didn't they indict 2.5 years ago? Because they wanted to do it right in the middle of the political campaign. Witch hunt. Of course, Frumpy Dump is delusional. I declare, honey, what a disgrace. So, of course, Frumpy Dump and the MAGA mice are pissed to the highest level of pistivity. They are wanting the governor of Georgia to remove Fannie Willis from her position. They are not looking at the evidence that Frumpy Dump called down there. Frumpy Dump had his team going down there trying to get into areas where they were not supposed to be. They were trying to intimidate election workers, had them scared. They also were breaching voting systems and stealing people's identification. I mean, it is ridiculous at a hot boo boo shitty mess. If you can look at this indictment and hear all this stuff and see all of this evidence, body camera footages, text messages, all emails, all of this stuff, you can look at this and you can still say that this man does not need to be indicted and he needs to face the music of what he did in 2020. Baby, you delusional. And I ain't got no help for you, honey. You got the sense, you got about as much sense as God gave a lemon. And we know he didn't give them a lemon any. All right, players, put your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. This is Double D Mother for the Black Accurate News.